Before glass skyscrapers, before reinforced concrete, before modern engineering transformed the horizon, there was one material that quietly shaped human civilization. It framed our homes, carried our bridges, powered our ships, and fueled entire economies. From remote villages to growing empires, the foundation of everyday life was built from the same resource harvested from forests around the world: wood. We have been cutting down trees and standing them back up as shelter for at least 10,000 years. Wood built the first villages, the first ships, the first cities. It is strong, it is warm, it is renewable, and a skilled person can shape it with nothing but a blade. For most of human history, no other material came close to offering all of that at once. But here is the problem hiding inside that comfortable old story. A tree is slow. A construction-grade timber tree takes somewhere between 25 and 75 years to grow tall enough and strong enough to cut down. The world is not building on a 75-year timeline. The world is building right now faster than at any point in human history, and the forests cannot keep up. So the building industry did what it always does. It reached for steel and concrete instead. And those two materials together are now responsible for more than 15% of all the carbon dioxide humanity pumps into the sky every single year. That is the trap. The slow, green material cannot scale. The fast, scalable materials are cooking the planet. And for decades, that was simply the deal. You picked your poison. Then a country that controls roughly a fifth of the world's supply of a very particular plant decided it was done picking. It took something most engineers had dismissed for a century as a peasant material, ran it through a process borrowed from heavy industry, and turned it into structural beams strong enough to hold up a 7-story building. And the strangest part of the whole story? The thing now replacing wood is not a tree at all. If you like videos about the technologies quietly reshaping the world while nobody is watching, hit like and subscribe so you never miss one. Because this story is bigger than a building material. Let us get into it. Why nobody replaced wood sooner. To understand why this matters, you first have to understand why nobody pulled it off decades ago. And the answer is not that engineers were lazy. The answer is that the plant they needed was, for a very long time, almost impossible to trust. The plant is bamboo. And on paper, bamboo looks like a miracle. It is the fastest growing plant on Earth. Some species can grow more than a full meter in a single day, fast enough that you could practically watch it climb. Instead of the decades a timber tree needs, bamboo reaches full structural strength in about 6 to 9 years. And because it is a grass, not a tree, it does not die when you harvest it. You cut the stalk, the root system stays alive, and it simply sends up a new one. No replanting, no clear cut, no bare hillside left behind. The strength numbers are almost hard to believe. Pound for pound, bamboo's tensile strength, its ability to be pulled without snapping, is 3 to 4 times greater than steel. Its raw tensile strength is more than double that of ordinary wood. For thousands of years, people across Asia already knew this in their hands. They built homes, bridges, and scaffolding out of it. In parts of the world, they still raise entire high-rises on bamboo scaffolding today. So if it is this fast, this strong, and this green, why was it never the answer? Because a natural bamboo stalk is a nightmare for an engineer. It is hollow. It is round, which makes it awkward to join. Its strength varies wildly from one stalk to the next, even from the bottom of a stalk to the top. It splits along its length when you drive a bolt through it. Left untreated, it rots, and insects love it. A building inspector cannot certify it's probably strong, depends on the stalk. Modern construction runs on predictability, on a beam that performs exactly the same way every single time, in the cold, under load, after 30 years. Wild bamboo could not promise that. So for the better part of a century, the engineering world wrote it off. They had a name for it, and the name was not kind. They called it the poor man's timber. A material for huts, not for cities. The breakthrough was never going to come from growing better bamboo. It was going to come from refusing to use bamboo in its natural shape at all. The crush that changed everything. Here is the question that cracked it open. What if you stopped treating bamboo like wood, like something you cut into planks and beams, and started treating it like an ingredient? That is the idea behind a material called bamboo scrimmer. And the process is genuinely a little brutal to picture. You start with a whole bamboo stalk. Instead of sawing it into neat boards, you run it through rollers that crush it and tear it apart along the grain, a step the industry actually calls fiberizing. What comes out the other side does not look like lumber. It looks like a loose, stringy bundle of fibers, almost like coarse straw. Every weakness of the original stalk, the hollow center, the round shape, the awkward joints, is gone, because the stalk itself is gone. You have broken it down into raw fiber. Then you dry those fibers, soak them in resin so they will bond, lay them all in the same direction, and you press. Not gently. The mats of resin-soaked fiber are squeezed under extreme pressure, well over 10 megapascals, and heated at the same time, forcing the fibers together until almost all the air and empty space is crushed out of them. What comes out is the part that makes engineers stop and stare. A block so dense it can be heavier than water, with a hardness that rivals or beats most hardwoods. The wild, unpredictable plant has been turned into a uniform, manufactured structural material, one that performs the same way every single time. And it wastes almost nothing. This process uses around 80% of the original stalk, including the crooked, low-quality pieces a sawmill would have thrown away. The numbers tell the story. High-density bamboo scrimmer has been tested with compressive strength well over 160 megapascals and bending strength climbing past 300. Remember, this is a grass that regrows in under a decade, now performing like premium engineered hardwood. And this is where that earlier promise finally pays off. Every reason engineers gave for not trusting bamboo, the splitting, the rot, the variation, the hollow core, was a property of the shape. Destroy the shape, rebuild it as a dense composite, and every one of those objections disappears at once. Here is the twist most people miss. This is not a brand new invention from a lab last year. The first high-strength version of this was made in China back in 1987 at Nanjing Forestry University. The science has been sitting there, quietly improving, for almost 40 years. What changed recently was not the chemistry, it was the ambition. From poor man's timber to the building code. A strong block of material in a laboratory is not a revolution. Plenty of brilliant materials never make it past the lab. The thing that turns a material into an industry is boring, and it is called a building code. This is the wall that has stopped countless promising materials cold. Building codes change slowly, on purpose, because the cost of getting a structural material wrong is not measured in money. It is measured in collapsed buildings. An engineer cannot put a beam into a hospital or a school just because a study says it is strong. There have to be agreed standards, tested numbers, and a paper trail that any inspector anywhere can check. For most of bamboo's history, that paper trail did not exist. And honestly, even today there is a real gap here. When researchers recently surveyed the companies making structural engineered bamboo around the world, they found something uncomfortable. Only about a third of them actually published the mechanical properties of what they were selling. Barely a quarter held the basic environmental certifications. If you are an architect trying to specify this material for a real project, that opacity is a serious problem. You cannot build on a number nobody will show you. But that is exactly the gap that is now closing, and fast. Engineered bamboo products are increasingly being tested against the same international standards that govern timber. Research has exploded. By one count, nearly 7,000 studies on engineered bamboo were published in just the decade leading up to 2024. Every one of those papers is another data point, another stress test, another brick in the wall of evidence that a building official needs before they will sign off. Slowly, the material stopped being an exotic curiosity and started becoming something an engineer could actually specify with confidence, with a number next to it, on a form, that would hold up in court. And the moment that confidence arrived, people stopped using engineered bamboo for floorboards and decking. They started building things with it that, 10 years earlier, the code would never have allowed to stand. The tower nobody thought could stand. For a long time, the joke about bamboo buildings was that they were fine, as long as they were 1 story tall and somewhere warm. A pavilion, a footbridge, a nice eco-resort cabin. Cute, Not serious. Then the serious structures started going up. In China, engineers designed and built what is recognized as the world's first 7-story building made primarily from engineered mass bamboo. Not a frame with a little bamboo trim. A genuine multi-story structure whose columns, beams, and floors are built from prefabricated engineered bamboo components. 7 stories of a plant that the construction world had laughed off as a hut material a generation earlier. It was not the only one. In a separate proof-of-concept project, researchers, working across institutions in China and the United States, put up a tower more than 20 meters tall, its upper floors built largely from laminated bamboo. The first couple of floors used concrete, but above that, the building rose on engineered bamboo beams and panels. The whole point was to prove a single thing, that this material could carry the loads of a real building, at real height, and satisfy real engineers. And it is not just buildings. One engineer who has spent decades on this working between universities in China and the United States built road bridges out of engineered bamboo, strong enough to carry vehicles. One of his spans in Hunan province was assembled out of prefabricated bamboo components by a small crew of workers in about a week, without heavy construction equipment. A bridge, made of grass, that a truck can drive across. This is the part that genuinely rattles people in the industry. We are not talking about a sustainable novelty for a garden. We are talking about engineered bamboo doing the job of structural timber and increasingly nudging into territory that used to belong to steel and concrete, carrying real loads in real structures that real people walk into. And once you can do that, a much bigger question opens up. Not can it work, but how far does this go? Because the country that figured this out is not treating it as a science project. It is treating it as national policy. The world starts paying attention. In 2022, China did something that told you exactly how seriously it was taking all of this. Together with the International Bamboo and Rattan Organization, it launched a global initiative with a blunt name: Bamboo as a substitute for plastic. The Chinese leadership backed it publicly, tying it to the country's climate commitments. The following year, China rolled out a 3-year national action plan to scale up bamboo as a replacement for high-emission materials and set a target of standing up demonstration zones across the country to prove the industry at scale. This is the difference between a cool material and a movement. China holds roughly 20% of the entire world's bamboo resources, and it has built the complete industrial chain to process it, from the forest to the factory to the finished beam. By the government's own accounting, the country's bamboo forests pull down and store on the order of 300 million tons of carbon every single year, just by growing. And there is money behind the vision, not just idealism. China's bamboo industry has been targeted to reach a value of 700 billion yuan by 2025 and a full trillion yuan by 2035. When a government and an industry put numbers like that on the table, the rest of the world starts to pay attention and to compete. That competition is already visible. When researchers mapped the companies making structural engineered bamboo worldwide, they found that roughly 2/3 of them were in China. But, and this is the tell, new clusters are now appearing in the United States, India, Indonesia, Vietnam, and Singapore. South America has its own giant timber bamboo and is starting to wake up to its value as an export crop. The technology that China refined is spreading outward, exactly the way a real industry spreads. What is driving it is not a love of plants, it is math. If you are a builder facing carbon taxes and tightening emissions rules, a structural material that grows back in under a decade and locks carbon inside your building instead of releasing it is not a feel-good choice. It is a competitive advantage, and no serious construction company can afford to ignore a competitive advantage for long. But a competitive advantage is only as good as its proof. So does it actually hold up out in the world, where the weather is real and the loads are heavy? The proof in the field. This is where the story earns its credibility, because engineered bamboo is not waiting in a lab. It is already out in the weather, holding weight, in places ordinary people use. Think back to that bridge in Hunan. It was not a model. It opened to real traffic, rated to carry vehicles up to 8 tons, and a duplicate of it was load-tested on a university campus to push the limits even further. A small team stood it up in roughly a week, with light equipment, in a rural village that needed a crossing. That is the entire promise of this material compressed into one structure. Fast to build, strong enough to trust, and made from something that grows on the hillside next door. Then there is the carbon math, and it cuts the right way. Conventional timber already stores carbon. That is one of its quiet virtues. But the research suggests engineered bamboo components can lock away meaningfully more carbon per ton than ordinary timber does, and that every cubic meter of assembled bamboo elements can keep hundreds of kilograms of carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere. You are not just avoiding the emissions of steel and concrete. You are building a structure that is, in effect, a carbon vault, one that grew itself out of thin air and sunlight in under a decade. And the species doing most of this heavy lifting has a name worth knowing: Moso bamboo. It is a giant timber bamboo that can shoot up to around 28 meters tall, and it is the raw material behind the overwhelming majority of the world's engineered bamboo. Vast plantations of it across China are, right now, the front end of a supply chain that ends in beams, panels, and bridges. That combination is what makes this moment different from every previous time someone announced that bamboo was the future. The strength has been measured. The structures are standing. The carbon savings are real. The industrial scale exists. This is not a promise on a slide. It is a bridge you can drive a truck across. But before you start imagining a world built entirely of grass, there is a catch. And it is the part the glossy announcements tend to skip. The catch, the scale, and what comes next. Here is the honest version, because you deserve it. That dense, miraculous bamboo scrimber? It is held together with resin, often a phenolic resin. That resin is what gives the material its strength and its water resistance, but it also means the finished beam is not a pure, natural, compostable twig. It is a composite. Questions about fire performance, about long-term durability, about what happens to all that resin at the end of a building's life, are real questions that engineers are still working through. A material being greener than steel does not make it perfectly green. There is also the hard problem of where this can actually happen. Turning bamboo into structural beams takes factories, fiberizing lines, resin baths, heated hydraulic presses. China built that entire chain over decades. A developing country with plenty of wild bamboo but no industrial base cannot just flip a switch and start producing certified structural beams. The very places that could benefit most from a cheap, fast-growing building material are often the places furthest from the equipment needed to make it. Closing that gap is not a science problem. It is an investment problem, a policy problem, and a training problem. And building codes, as we said, move at the speed of caution. Every country that wants to build seriously with engineered bamboo needs its own testing, its own standards, its own inspectors who know what they are looking at. China can share the blueprints. The rest of the world still has to do the slow work of writing them into law. None of that erases what the science shows. It just marks the distance between what is possible and what will actually get built. And that distance is closing faster than almost anyone in the industry expected. So step back and look at the whole picture. We took a plant the engineering world dismissed as a hut material. We stopped trying to use it like wood, crushed it into fiber, and pressed it back together into something stronger than the hardwood it replaces. It grows back in under a decade without being replanted. It stores carbon instead of spewing it, and it is already holding up 7-story buildings and carrying trucks across rivers. For thousands of years, building better meant cutting down something that took a lifetime to grow. For the first time, we have a serious structural material that grows back before a child finishes school. That is genuinely new. And given how much of your world is built out of wood, steel, and concrete, a change at the root of how we build does not stay small for long. If this changed how you see the chair you are sitting in, or the next building you walk into, give it a like and subscribe for more stories about the technologies quietly reshaping the world. Turn on notifications so you never miss one. And tell me in the comments, if a plant the experts laughed at for a century turned out to be this powerful, what else do you think we have been overlooking in plain sight?